Hello everyone, I am Sanket Singh and welcome back to my channel. So guys, recently we launched the 3.0 version of our backend development bootcamp, which has now got bigger and better this time. A lot of you guys were giving us a query that you want some sample and free trial lectures so that you can also get an idea that how things are being taught, what level of things we are going to kind of discuss in the class, and what are the different topics that we are going to have. So regarding the topics, I'm going to make a very dedicated video very soon where I'll talk about every topic in depth and the projects that we are going to take in depth in the lecture, right? I'll upload that video on YouTube, but this particular video is kind of like a sample lecture that you guys can actually refer in order to understand that whether you are able to connect with me while I'm teaching or not, whether you are able to understand the topics or not, and get an idea of what to expect on a high level overview inside the cohort. So I hope you guys will like this course preview. I'll be posting a few more course preview ahead as well. So please keep an eye on that. And if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do consider subscribing to the channel. So without any further delay, let's just start. So now we want to set up the notification service, and again I will try to set up the notification service using our normal template. Right, let me bring in the template here. One second. Basic node project template. Let's clone this. I'll open it once in my folder and name it as Noti service. Okay, so I've named it as Noti service. Let's go to Noti service. First of all, I'll do npm install. Okay. Then I'll do npx sequelize init, and we should do it inside source folder. Sorry, cd source. Okay. And then we will say npx sequelize db init. Sorry, my bad. npx sequelize init, not db init, npx sequelize init. And I'll do a minus force because there are a bunch of folders. You can see now everything is here inside config.json. Now for notification service, I want to have a different database. So I'll say notidb or notification db. Username root and password I'll just bring in 1 second. So I've added my password there, and here we go. We're good to go, right? We have a bunch of controllers. We don't have to do much here. Right? So a starting point for the notification service is up. Let me make a new repository altogether. I'll do git init, git add, set up basic notice service. I'll add the remote origin, airline notice service, create repository, remote origin add, and git push origin master. Here we go. So we have a basic notification service setup ready, and now we are going to add logic to it.
So now what we are going to do inside notification service, we are going to create a very basic model that is what we call as ticket notification kind of a thing. We will say that in this model, what we are going to do, we are going to actually store what will be the subject of the email, what will be the content of the email, who all like who is the email for, like who is the recipient of the email corresponding to that, right? And what is the status of the corresponding email, and whether it is a scheduled email or not, something like that we can keep. But for simplicity, let's start with this. Later you can add more columns. For example, let's say you want to add that feature where you will be sending an email 48 hours before the flight time. So what you can do, you can have a type of the notification as scheduled, and at what time you have scheduled it, right? You can actually store that as well. But we'll take a simple use case for the time being, because we have to understand a more deeper concept. I'll say npx equalize model generate minus name. I will say ticket. I will say as ticket, right? And then let's say we can have a property subject as string, content as string, and then let's say we can say recipient emails as string, that whom this notification is scheduled for, and what is the status. Let's say we can keep as string as well. Sorry, we should say minus attributes. And we should execute this inside the source folder. Here we go. So we have a new model and a new migration created. Now a bunch of things we have to do. First of all, we will go to models, right? And we are going to add a bunch of constraints here that are going to be more or less same. Type is this, allow null to be false. Okay. Comma. Okay. And in status, instead of saying data types dot string, I'll keep it as enum, right? Enum makes more sense, right? And the values that we are going to keep for the enum, for the timing, I'm saying pending, success, and failed. Okay. We have these pending values here, and again, you can go to the commons folder and create corresponding enums for them, no problem. But as I said, we have a broader picture to see today, so this is something that I'll leave on you to do the cleanup. Pending. Got it? And similar stuff we will do for the migrations. Allow null false. And for the status, we'll bring in these values. We'll go to status, paste these values, and make the status as enum, right? As simple as that. And I believe most of the things looks good to me, right? Let's do npx equalize db migrate. If anything more is required, maybe we can roll back or do some more migrations. Okay. Let's see. It says unknown database notification db. Let's see why is that. First of all, there are a few things missing that we should technically add. Yeah. One is there is a .env folder missing, file missing. We'll say port. Let's run this on port 3002. Right. Let's try to start the server, npm run dev, and let's see if there is anything wrong. Okay, it started the server. Right. Also inside the server, we need two very basic things, that is URL encoded and what I would say JSON, right? So I'll say express.json and express.url encoded. We will add these two as well. Let's try to do npx sequelize db migrate. It says unknown database this db. Most probably there is some issue with the config. Let me try and check what is the issue with the config. So one step that we missed was npx sequelize db create before we do db migrate. We need to first of all create the database as well, right? Here we go. And now we can do db migrate. Got it. Let's open MySQL. Show databases. And we have a notification DB. Use notification DB. Show tables. And we have a tickets table. Right? As simple as that. Now, a few things that we might have to implement here. Right? We need to implement an emailing service. Right? We need to implement an emailing service. And in order to implement the emailing service, we need to have all the email setup done with us, right? So how that emailing service will look like. So there is a package in Node.js called as node mailer. You can configure node mailer, right? You can see it's very easy to configure node mailer. How? You can do npm install node mailer. Npm install node mailer, right? And what node mailer says that you have to create a transport object. You don't have to go into very much nuances around what is the meaning of transport. You can say that it's a custom object that node mailer expects that you will create. For example, like this, you have to make a custom transport object like this, right? And you have to tell your user ID and password, and everything should be a good to go, right? So for this tutorial purpose, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a temporary email. Let me bring in that. I believe I must be having access to that. So now I've set up a new email with the email ID airnoti@gmail.com. It's just coming up, right? I would suggest for this exercise, try to create a brand new email only. That would definitely help you, right? Okay, you can see we have a brand new email with us, airlinenoti@gmail.com. So now we need to do a bunch of things from this email. First, you can go to your manage your Google account. Then you can go to security, right? And previously, like if you go last year, September-ish, there was a setting that you have to enable called as less secure app. And most of the documentation also that you will see, right? In that case, you will see all of those documentation talks about less secure apps. But this settings is no more available. You can't now use less secure apps, right? So what you have to do is, if you go to this signing in with Google, right? No, not this one. Let's see. There is two-step verification off. We can turn on the two-step verification. Right. Let me just quickly add my OTP and number. Right. You can turn on the two-step verification. Let me get the verification code. Okay. So I've turned on the two-step verification as well. You can see that here. Okay. Two-step verification I have turned on. Okay. Now, let's see. Now there is an option of, one second. There are a bunch of more settings that you might have to do. You can enable more enhanced safe browsing, right? This is also done. And let's see, we don't need this. Let me just go to back screen once again. Now, once you have enabled the two-step verification, once that two-step verification is enabled, go back to the two-step verification setting. See, I'm going back to the two-step verification setting. In this two-step verification, there is a setting of app password. This is all you need now. You can click on app passwords. You can click an app. For example, we need mail and we need a device which is other. Our web server is a other device, right? So you can say Gmail for Noti. And now you can say generate. And can you see there is a new password that has came up? Don't worry, I'll post this tutorial. I will revoke the access of this password. But this password is going to be necessary and this is going to be shown to you one time only on your screen. You need to copy this and come to your .env file and you can say Gmail pass. This password is different from your normal Gmail password. This is not my Gmail password. This is an app password that in case any application wants to access my Gmail, it has to access using this particular password, right? This is a new way to implement node mailer, just telling, otherwise docs are very old. And I'll get the email as well. Gmail email, something like this. Okay, we have this email and we have this password. And now what we are going to do inside the config, I'm going to make a new file, email config.js, right? Here I will require node mailer. Once that is done, I'll go to server config. Inside server config, I will return these process.env.this and Gmail email. Okay, cool. Now we will require this. We'll say require /server config. Inside the server config, this is process.env. Inside the server config, there will be Gmail email and what's the other one? Gmail pass. Gmail pass, right? I'll get both of the details. And now I'm going to create the transporter object. How do you create that? You can say const mail sender is equal to this. Transport object is the object that has all the logic. How do you connect to the SMTP server of Gmail? How to log into that? How to start sending email? All of that logic is actually inside this node mailer transport object. So I'll say node mailer.create transport. This constructor takes a object as an argument. One parameter of this object is service. I'll say the service that I'm going to use is Gmail. And then you have to pass a property auth. Inside auth, you say user is Gmail email and password is Gmail password. That's it. Now only this much amount of setting is required. If you go to the docs that are almost pretty old, you will see they ask you for a lot of things. You don't need that, don't need host and everything. You just need to write this much. Module.exports, mail sender, and you are good to go. Now this mail sender object can be actually used in order to send emails. Let's try, right? Let's try. Okay. So I will go to index.js. I'll just require it for a moment. Mail sender is equals to require config / email config. And let's say once you start the server, what you can do is you can say mail sender dot send mail. There is a function send mail. Inside send mail, you can say from You can give anything from, but whatever is your Gmail email, that only that is going to be taken. So I can say server config dot gmail email 2. I will write my temporary email ID cs191297@gmail.com. It's a temporary email ID that I have. Subject is the service working, and in the content you have to say yes, it is working. Right? That's it. That's all that you have to actually send, right? And let's remove this. Let's make this a asynchronous function. We will receive a response as well. So I'll say const response is equals to this await. We'll await here, and I'll do console.log response, what response it gives us, and then I'll bind all of this inside a try catch. If any error comes up, I'll just do console.log of error. Okay, this is what we are doing as a testing part, right? We are just doing testing here. Now let's see. If I do, and first of all, let me open that email ID as well, where I'm trying to send the email. Let me see if I have one logged in or not. Yeah, I'm logged in. Okay. So this is that email ID, right? And now if I do, and let me open that other email as well, which is inside our incognito, that is Noti mail. Here we go. Let's open Gmail from here. Right, so we can also see that in the sent folder whether it is going on or not. Okay. So npm run dev. And you can see we have got a success like object. If you go to the sent folder, you can see there has been an email that is sent, right? Is the service working? Right. And if you refresh, let's see whether it's in our spam or what. You can see it's in the spam. Why? Because there is no text coming up, but the emailer is working, right? The emailer is properly working. No problem in that. We just have to see why the content is not working. Okay, my bad. Here you should not say content, you should say text. Is this working now as well? This property should be text. Now you can see another email has been sent. This time it should not lie inside our spam. You can see spam, it's not in spam. Here you can see it's now inside my inbox. The mailer is working like a charm. So you can see you just have to create an object. From that object, just call the send mail function and boom, you're good to go, right? So whatever ABC email you have to give, I'll just commit this much part. Git add all, git commit, created node mailer transport object and tried, git push. Here we go, right? Now we have tested this mail sender, right? We have tested this mail sender. So I will remove this from index.js. It's there in the commit. You can go and try and check it, right? The repository is this one. I'll just quickly show you the repository. This one, airline notice service, right? Here you go. Now let's try to set up a bunch of APIs. First things first, I'll create a new service, email service.js. Okay. Inside this email service, I will write a bunch of functions. For example, I'll first of all say, let's go to repository. Let's create a new repository. Ticket repository. .js, right? Ticket repository.js. And inside ticket repository, we are going to add maybe like a bunch of basic boilerplate. So to get the basic boilerplate, I will open my booking service. Now from here, I will get the CRUD repository, copy all of this and paste it here, new file, CRUD repository.js, paste it here. And from CRUD repository, then the normal repository we will create, right? So let's do one thing. Let's also open our flight service. We can get something like a city repository, right? That was pretty plain. Okay, here we go. City repository. Paste it here, and this we will call as ticket repository. Ticket repository, and we will get the ticket here. From models, we will get ticket.js, right? Ticket.js, and we'll pass this ticket only in the constructor. Here you go. So we have a basic repository created for us, right? Once this basic repository is done, let's go to our email service. Let's write some code here. Const ticket repository is equals to require model slash sorry, not models, repositories, right? And then we are going to write a bunch of functions, right? One function that we will try to write is, let's do a module.exports. There we go. Inside the service, there can be one function which can send basic emails. Send email, right? I'll say function or async function. Async function send email. This function will take a mail from, it will take a mail to, it will take a subject, it will take a text, right? And then we can use that same email config object. So let's export the email config. I'll say mailer as require / email config, and here I'll get that mailer const require config, and from that config I'll get that mailer, right? And what we will do here is we'll say try catch. We'll say try catch console.log error, and then we'll throw the error also for the timing. You can do error handling again, just like how we did it for the other services. That can be a takeaway task for you. But for the timing, we'll say const response is equals to await mailer dot send mail. Inside send mail, I will say from as mail from, to as mail to, subject as mail subject, or just say subject, and text as text. This will send the email for us. Whatever is the response, I'll say return response, right? As simple as that. And then we will export this send email function, right? Now I'll add a few more functions. For example, I will add a function async function create ticket, right? It will get some data for us, and again a basic try catch code. Again, I'm not doing very concrete error handling. You can try to do that, right? We are more on the basic logic here. Const response is equals to await. Let's create a new ticket repository object. Const ticket repo is equals to new ticket repository. I'll say await ticket repo dot create, and I'll pass the data. This will help us to create a ticket, right? And we will return response. Here we go. As simple as that. No more fancy logics here. Okay, we just have to create a ticket. That's it, right? I'll write one more function, async function get pending emails, right? Okay, get pending emails. And then let's say what this function will do is this function will try to get all the corresponding pending emails for us, that whatever are the emails which are pending, we will try to get that. Try catch. I will say, let's go to ticket repository and let's go to CRUD repository. We don't have a function that can fetch a custom object for us, right? So here I will write a function, get pending tickets, right? I will say const response is equals to await ticket dot find all, I guess, right? Where status is pending. Wherever the ticket status is pending, we are going to get all of those. This is an async operation. And we return response. See, simple function. What we are doing is we are trying to get all the tickets which are in a pending state, right? Okay. And we will use this method. Const response is equals to await ticket repo dot, what's the method? Get pending tickets. And we'll say return response. Otherwise, I'll just console.log and throw there. That's it. Get pending emails. Right, so we have got a function for pending emails as well, so that we can fetch a bunch of pending emails as well. Okay, cool. Let's have all of this much, right? Let's close all of the files that we have opened till now. And now we need to set up a controller. We need to set up a controller as well. Before that, let's say email service. I will export from here email service. Let's go to controller, new file, email controller.js. Okay, email controller.js. Now we are going to write an API so that we can receive a ticket, right? Very simple API that we have to write is to receive a ticket. That's it. So const require services, and which service we need? Email service. Okay, module.exports. There we go, right? And now what we can actually do is we'll say const create, or let's write a normal function only. So async function create. This gets access to the request object, the response object. Try catch. If we come in the catch, we'll say return res dot status. I'll say 500 dot JSON, and I'll pass the error object in the JSON. Right. As I said, I'm not doing much error handling here because we have very frequently done that. So you are already aware of that. You can do all of the cleanup. I'll say const response is equals to await email service dot create ticket. In order to create the ticket, what parameters do we need? We'll get subject content email all these things. Subject as request.body.subject, content as request.body.content, and recipient email as request.body.recipient email. That's it. Once done, we will return rest.status 201.json response. Right, I'll just send that. I'll export the create method as well. And because we just have one API here, I'm not even making a lot of efforts in the routes. In the V1 routes only, I will get the controller. So let's get the controller here. I'm not making a separate file because we just have one single API. So email controller is require email controller. And then we go to routes. We'll get the email controller. And I'll say router dot post slash tickets email controller dot create. That's it. As simple as that. Now let's try our API. Let's try our API. I believe everything is good to go. npm run dev. Okay. It's crashing. It says ticket repository is not a constructor. Let's just quickly go and see in the email service. Oh, my bad. We should get it like this, right? Okay. And in the repositories, I guess I have not returned it. So ticket repository is require ticket repository. Here we go. And a bunch of things are missing. Let's remove that from here. For example, go to CRUD repository. We have app error and everything. Let's bring app error object inside our utils errors, right? So what I'll do is I'll bring all of these functions, common errors and helpers, copy, paste it here. Now we have it. See, port started on 3002, looks good. Let's open Postman. Right, again, general basic setup stuff that we have done. There we go. So now we are going to create a post request on localhost 3002 slash API slash v1 slash tickets. Oh, sorry. Slash API slash v1 slash tickets. Inside the body, I'll write the subject as new mail subject. And what else do we need? Let's go here. We need content and recipient email. So I'll say recipient email as cs191297@gmail.com, and content is test mail. Let's send it. You can see a brand new ticket object has been created. Select star from tickets. And here we go. We have completed our create ticket API. Now all we have to do is we need to set up a simple cron. We have already done that before. What that cron is going to do, it just does one simple thing. And what is that? It is going to run, let's say, every minute, every hour, whatever you want to do, you can actually do that. No problem in that. And then it will fetch all the pending emails, whatever are the pending emails. And then it can actually start sending that. But we'll talk more about those cron and what we can actually do there. But before that, let's see that from our booking service, how we are going to actually go and create these tickets. Let's start talking about that. Now what we want is, there can be different type of notifications that we can send, right? One notification I will try to show and send in front of you. Rest you will try to explore yourself. Let's say there is a booking service. From this booking service to our notification service, we have to go and create a ticket. Now just think about it. The booking service doesn't need to depend or doesn't need to wait for anyone, any kind of notification to be sent before they can give the confirmation for the booking, right? They don't have to actually do that, right? They can just give the confirmation of the booking and mail can be sent later. Mails can be sent later, right? It's not mandatory to send the mail right now, right there, right? Apart from that, just think about it. Let's say our booking service can run on a higher scale. For example, let's say we are running it on 5 machines. But we know that notification service is not a very important service, and it can there is no immediate delivery of notification that we want. For notification deliveries, what can happen is there can be a delay in the notification delivery, right? You don't need to have it immediate. So maybe we don't scale it that much. In that case, what can happen is, if we have not scaled the notification service at a high scale, and that can be a good agenda because we have to save cost and everything. Let's say, what if a lot of tickets start getting created on the notification service? A lot of tickets starts to get created on the notification service. That can be a problem, right? Because notification service has connection to its database as well. That's we are using as MySQL. If a lot of create ticket notification will come up, there will be a lot of load on the database. A lot of things can go sideways because maybe this service is not able to take all of the QPS that is going to come up from booking service, and maybe some other services are also going to consume the notification service. In that case, we want to add some relaxation. We want to reduce the load on this notification service, right? And for that, we are going to add message queues that we talked about previously. What will happen is, booking service is going to add or publish an event to the queue, and notification service is going to subscribe to that event. Whenever notification service is available, it will subscribe one event, do something for that. Then it will subscribe another event, do something for that. There won't be direct concurrent APIs that are hitting the notification service and increasing the load on that. That's why using these queues are going to be helpful. And for our case, we are going to use something that is called as RabbitMQ. It's very easy to set up and configure RabbitMQ. There are other queuing services as well, right? For example, if you go for Python and Python related libraries, there is a very famous one called as, I guess, Celery. I'm not sure, I don't remember, but I guess there is one. Kafkas and everything are there. But RabbitMQ is going to be something that we are going to set up, and it's going to be running on its own server. RabbitMQ runs on its own server, right? I'll show you just now. And it is going to just keep on consuming the events that the booking service will send it, and booking service is free. Notification service can keep on subscribing the events, and then the notification service is free. That's what we are going to set up. So we are going to start setting up RabbitMQ. You can go to the official page of RabbitMQ, right? And you can see how you can actually download and install RabbitMQ, right? You can see it's a complete message broker solution, right? It can support you asynchronous messaging, right? And there are proper management and monitoring dashboards also that it provides. If you go for download and installation, you can do a Docker based installation, but don't worry if you don't know about it. You can separately go and check how to set up RabbitMQ on Windows. Then you can say how to set up RabbitMQ on, let's say, Mac. Same thing you can do for Linux. You can see there is a homebrew solution for Mac, and for Windows also they have a dedicated installer page that this is the installer that you can use for Windows. Once you have installed it, at least on Mac, I can do something like brew info RabbitMQ. If I do brew info RabbitMQ, let's do it here. You can see it is already installed in my system. You can see it's already installed in my system, right? And if I have to start or restart something, I can actually do that, right? Also, what you can actually do is there is a RabbitMQ localhost URL that we can actually go to. Let's try to go to this URL, localhost 15672. If I go to localhost 15672, one second. Let me just take a look at it. Let's restart RabbitMQ once. So if you want to start a new RabbitMQ server, what you can actually do is, let's close it. There is a command called as RabbitMQ-server. You can run that. Let's see how can we close it. Okay. You can run this command RabbitMQ-server. Right. It will turn up the RabbitMQ server for you. You can see starting broker. And then you can go to this URL, localhost 15672. Let's go again. And you will see that there is a whole RabbitMQ dashboard that it actually gives you. Generally, the username and password is guest. You can try on your own system. Right. And you can see there is a whole RabbitMQ dashboard that is up for us. Can you see that? Right. On here, we will be able to see what all connections, queues, and everything that we have set up. I already have a reminder queue set up, but maybe we can set up a new one. Right. Now, in order to connect our Node.js project with this, there is a library called as AMQP-lib. AMQP-lib. What is AMQP-lib? It's a RabbitMQ library. It's a RabbitMQ client for Node.js. Right. You have to install this. So what I'm going to do is, let's go to our booking service as well. We need to install it at both the places. Flight booking service. And we will install it at our notice service. Okay. So you can see in the flight booking service as well, I'm installing AMQP-lib. In the notification service as well, I'm installing the AMQP-lib. Right. As simple as that. Now, how can you try to set up a new connection? Let's start talking about that. Right. So I'll go to my booking service. This is notification service. Let's go to booking service. Okay. Let's close flight service from here. Now inside the booking service, let's try to have some basic code set up directly in the index.js file. Then of course we can do some simple refactor. What I'll do is, I'll say const AMQP-lib is equals to require AMQP-lib. Okay. You can see I've required the library, right? Now I can actually write a function, async function connect queue. You need to write some logic to connect to a queue, right? What is that logic? I'll bind it inside try catch. If there is any error, I'll do console.log error. And then, first of all, you have to create a connection. I'll say const connection is equals to await. You have to first of all connect to the RabbitMQ server. And can you see where the RabbitMQ server is running? The RabbitMQ server is running on localhost 15672, right? So I'll say await AMQP-lib dot connect, and I'll pass the address as. So in order to connect, the protocol that you have to use is AMQP protocol : / localhost 15672. Right. Here you can see, right? So this is not a normal HTTP connection. It's a different protocol altogether, which is a queuing protocol given by RabbitMQ called as AMQP. So you'll say protocol name as AMQP / localhost 15672. Right. this creates a new connection with the queue. This creates a new connection with the queue. Now, apart from, you can see this is a new connection. This is a new connection. Apart from connection, there is a concept of channels. Let me show you what is channels. Channels in RabbitMQ. Some application needs multiple connections to the broker. Which broker? This RabbitMQ. RabbitMQ is a message broker. When you say message broker, means that it takes some messages from someone and delivers it to someone else, right? Kind of like that broker. So some application needs multiple logical connections to the broker. However, it is undesirable to keep that many TCP connections open. That means this AMQP protocol is also based on TCP. So if let's say you need multiple message queue connections, it doesn't make sense to have too many TCP connections open at the same time, because doing so consumes system resources and makes it difficult to configure firewalls and everything. AMQP connections are multiplexed with channels that can be thought as lightweight connections that share a single TCP connection. So when you create a connection to the, from your service, you create a connection to the RabbitMQ server. If you want to make multiple connections, you can create a channel. Channel acts like a lightweight connection, and it's kind of like a multiplexed connection only. Multiplex means multiple things going at the same point of time. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to create a channel because we might need more connections. So I'll say const channel is equals to await connection dot channel, connection dot create channel, I guess. Create channel. So this is going to create a new channel. And then what we are going to do, we are going to say await channel dot assert queue. There is a method called as assert queue. What is assert queue? Assert queue is a function which takes a queue name. Let's say NodeJS. What it will do is it will check inside the RabbitMQ through this connection that whether there is a queue named with NodeJS already present or not. If there is, then everything is good. If not, then it will create a queue for us. Let's try. Let's save this. Let's call this connect queue function after this cron, connect queue. And let's start our booking service server. npm run dev. Looks like everything is connected. If you go to your dashboard, if you go to your queues, you can see no error actually came up. Okay, this error came up. This socket closed abruptly during a handshake. Let's think about it. So there is something that went wrong. Let's close all of this. Okay, let's see. So we try to create a connection. Let's comment out these two lines. Let's see if it is able to create a connection or not. Right. It's not even able to create a connection. Right. Let's see. Let's go to AMPQLib library. Let's see if we are missing something. Okay, we can just directly give AMPQ localhost instead of giving the port. I guess it will by default identify the port. We can just directly give this. Let's see. Looks like it connected. No error coming up. Let's do a console.log here. I'll do a await. And then let's do a console.log. Let's do a async. Queue connected. I'll say queue connected. If the above function works well, I'll say queue connected. Let's try queue connected. Okay, the queue is connected. So you don't need to pass the port. AMQP will by default understand on which port it is running. So you don't need to pass that port. Now let's do these two things. It again says queue connected. Let's go to the dashboard. And can you see there is a new Noti queue coming up? As simple as that. There is a brand new notification queue that is coming up, right? And now what we can do is inside this queue, we can actually send a message. Something like this. We'll say await channel dot send to queue. There's a method send to queue using which you can send a message to the queue. Let's say the message is a test message, right? And let's say I will send that this is a message. Let's see what comes up. If I save it, you can see content is not a buffer. There is an error coming up. What is that? So what AMQP library expect is that whenever you are going to send a message, you are going to send it in the form of a buffer. Can you see? You have to create a buffer object. So let's do that. Buffer.from this message. Here we go. You can see queue connected. And if we go to queues, queues is here, right? If we click on this queue, right? And let's see if we can see the details. You can see there is a uptick in the message rates here, right? And let's see, can we see that somewhere? These are exchanges. We don't need to go there, right? Okay, let's see. Let's see what else are they doing. Okay, they are sending message in an interval. Let's see. Let's try to do something like this so that we can also see some load on the queue. Let's try to send messages in 1 second interval again and again. And the queue name is NodeJS. Let's also do one thing. We can get the queue object, right? Where is this queue object coming from? This is the queue name. So we can just pass the string. Sorry, NodeJS. Okay. So first argument is the queue name. Second argument is the buffer from. Okay. Let's see if some movement is there or not. Okay. Can you see if I go to the last minute, then there is an uptick in the messages that are coming up, right? Can you see? There is an uptick in the messages coming up, right? You can see total 19 messages are already there. You can see all the stats are coming up. And you can see here as well. In some limited stats, you can see 29 messages are already there. Now there are 34. Why? Because in a set interval, we are again and again sending messages to the queue. And it is getting queued in the message queue, right? No problem there. It is getting queued in the message queue. As simple as that. Now we need to do, this is a publisher model. We have started publishing our messages to the queue, right? Let's stop it. Let's stop it now. We have started publishing our messages to the queue, right? Now what do we need? We need to start the consumption of these messages. Let's try to configure that. Now in order to consume this, I'll go to the notification service. Here is the index.js for notification service. I'll do similar thing. I'll get our AMQP lib. AMQP lib is equals to require AMQP lib. Okay. And then I'll write a function here. Consume. Right. I'll write a function consume or connect queue only. I'll write connect queue. Again, a try catch. I will set up the same connection. So this same connection I will set up, and I will set up a channel. Okay. This code will remain as it is. I will first of all assert the queue that we want to connect to actually is present or not. Always, this is the best practice to do, that whatever queue you want to start publishing or consuming, you should first assert that whether that queue is present or not. If not, then it will create the queue at least for you. And then you can say channel.consume. You can say channel.consume. You can again pass NodeJS. It gives you a callback data. And you can say console.log you have to do a similar thing. You will say buffer.from data.content. Okay. Let's try to do something like this. If I save it and let's do npm run dev, you can see currently nothing will happen. Why? Because we have not called this connect queue function. Let's call this connect queue function, await connect queue, console.log, queue is up. Save it. Can you see all those something to do, something to do, something to do? At the moment our notification service came up, all of those messages started to get consumed and all of them are getting printed. All of those were queued, right? All of those were queued. Let me try to do one more time. So I've closed the notification service. What I'll do is I'll say one more. Okay. If you save it, you have published this message, right? Now our notification service server is down. Let's see, we were into maintenance, but people are still doing bookings. If people are still doing bookings, that means although our email service is down, we have to make sure that once it is up, we have to send those messages. The moment I turn up the server, here we go, one more, right? But the problem is you are getting all of those messages again that you already consumed before. Why is that? Because all of this is a TCP connection. TCP connection means you need to send an acknowledgement that I have consumed this. How can you send an acknowledgement? It's very easy to do. You will say channel.ack. There is a function acknowledgement and you can pass the data for which you are going to send an acknowledgement. Save it. And now when you restart the queue, you can see there are no messages because all of them are consumed and an acknowledgement has been sent. Now let's try to do one thing. Let's send one more message. The moment you publish that message, it is getting consumed here. Can I say that? Let's close the server. Let's send one more message. 1, 2, 3. You can see that message has been sent. Notification service is down. The moment you restart it, it comes up. And why I am turning down the notification service? Because I want to show you that, let's say, if notification service is busy, it is still doing something, right? It is having a lot of load, anything, then all of your messages are safe. You don't have to put a lot of load there. Whenever it will be available, it will start consuming things from the queue as a subscriber and start executing stuff. As simple as that. Now, once your booking is done, you need to create a notification, right? So why not? Let's wrap this function inside a util. Cut. And I will say, let's do one thing. Let's keep the queue connected. Right. Or yep, let's do one thing. Let's do this. Right. And let's do one thing. Let's create a new file in utils, common, or it should be not in utils, it should be in config. New file, qconfig.js. I'll paste all of this where I'm connecting to the queue. Right. You can see what I'm doing is I'm trying to connect to the queue. Right. And what I will do is I'll make a global channel object. So I'll say let channel comma connection. And then let's remove const connection, const channel from here. Okay. And here I will just assert to the queue. Okay. I will assert to the queue. Then I'll write another function async send data, async function send data, and I will get some data inside this corresponding function data. I'll again do a try catch, console.log error, and then what I'll do is I'll say await channel dot send to queue, channel dot send to queue, notiq. Of course, this notiq name you can write in your .env file. I'm currently hard coding it, no worries. And then you can say buffer dot from. Okay, most of the time this data is going to be an object, right? So what we'll do is we will stringify the object using json.stringify and then send the data. That's it. Once that data is sent, right, what we can actually do is, oh yeah, let's keep it like this. Let's keep it like this. And module.exports connect queue and send data. Okay. Inside your index.js, what I'll do is, first of all, in config, let's export queue as require queue config. Inside my index.js, I'll get comma queue, and I will say await queue dot connect queue. Right, there's a connect queue function, right? If I save it, you can see queue connected, right? No message is published yet. When we have to publish a message, we have to publish it as at a very specific place, and which is when we create a booking. Let's go to booking. Services, booking service. Here I will get the queue. And what you will do is, once you commit the transaction, then you are going to say queue dot send data. What data do you want to send? Let's say I want the email of the user, right? Do we have it here? We need to get it. We need to actually get it. The user email here. So, but for the timing, let's do one thing. Let's say I'll send a content as booking successfully done. Booking successfully done for the flight. Now let's see. Do we have flight data? Yes, we have flight data. Right, we have flight data. Right, I'll say flight data dot, I believe there is some flight number, right? Let's check that in flight service. Okay, so let's go to flight model. We have a flight number. Okay, let's send the flight number. Flight data dot flight number. Okay, I'll say content is, or text is this, subject is, let's say flight booked. And for the time being, I'm also going to hard code the recipient email. You can of course fetch it from the user that is there, right? Or let's fetch it only, or maybe because I don't have a real user registered, so let's for the timing hard code, you can actually replace that with the recipient email. Let's go to email controller, recipient email cs191297@gmail.com. This is just for testing, right? I'll say q dot send data this. And this will happen when we will create a successful booking, right? This will happen when we will create a successful booking. So let's try to create a booking. And technically this should not even happen here. This should happen when we have successfully paid for the booking, right? So let's not do it here. When you have successfully paid for the booking, then we will do it. Got it? Okay. So To be very honest, I forgot how we were creating all of this, but let's see. Let's try to create one. Do I have it already set up somewhere? I believe I might be having. Okay, so we can create a booking for this flight for these number of seats for this user ID. Let's create a booking. Okay. Okay, server is down, I guess. One second, let's see. The flight service server is down. So npm run dev. Let's turn up the flight service as well. Send it. You can see I've clearly created a new booking. Now I need to do the make payment, right? Let's go to make payment. What does it expect? It expects a booking ID, and I believe it expects data dot user ID and total cost. Okay, so I'll do slash make sorry, what is the URL? Let's go inside routes slash payments slash bookings slash payments. I need user ID, I need booking ID. So let's get the booking ID from here. 6 booking ID as 6, and total cost we need to send. Total cost is 17,500. Let's send it. Okay, idempotency key is missing, so let's get that idempotency key. So let's go to middlewares. One second. Let's go to controller, booking controller. We need this X idempotency key. I can send something random for the time being. Something random, send it. Internal server error. I believe we have crossed the time. There is a 2-minute time limit, right? I believe we have crossed that. Why it said something went wrong? Let's see the booking. Let's see if the booking is done. So, use flights. Select star from bookings. This was a new booking that we did today. Yeah, so it's done. It is failing somewhere else. Let's see what's the status. The queue didn't receive anything, although the queue didn't receive anything, right? Let's see what might be going wrong. After committing the transaction, then we are doing queue.send data, right? Let's go to booking controller, make payment. Let's see what error is coming up. Console.log error. Let's create another booking. I'll create another booking. Another booking is here with booking ID 7. Total cost is same. Just the booking ID changes. If I send it now, okay, Exaios error is coming up. $404. Starting transaction and then rolling back. I believe, are we making any Exaios call here? We were doing booking repository dot update, right? For that, we said booking status we have to bring. Okay. Oh, sorry, my bad. Yes, I'm doing payment in the wrong API. Slash payment. Send it. Now it's giving something went wrong. Okay, I believe this q.send data is actually causing the problem. Let's see. Let's send the data before committing the transaction. Okay, let's save it. I got it. Most probably that q.send data is not working. Let's see why. First of all, let's create another booking. Send it. Booking created. This time the booking ID must be 8. Yes, it is. Let's try to make the payment. This time the payment should not go through. Payments. Send it. Error came up again. If you go to MySQL, select star, you can see it's in an initiated state. So most probably what's happening, the queue is not able to send the message. Right? It rolled back because there is some problem here, most probably. Okay. Let's go in queue.send data. And let's see if there is any error coming up or not. Queue error. Okay, we don't want to await it there. We don't want to await it in the booking service, right? Because I want this to go maybe asynchronously. But let's do it await. Let's do an await here for the time being. Let's try to make a payment again. Failed again. Okay, no queue error is coming up. It just says flight data is not defined. So, oh, my bad. Because flight data variable was up there, right? It's not here. So let's just do one thing. Instead of flight data, let's send the booking ID. Okay, let's send the booking ID for the timing. I just want to send something. Let's send booking ID. Send it. Successfully completed the request. And can you see inside our notice service, we have received this brand new JSON object, right? Once you have received this brand new JSON object, I believe you are smart enough to know what I am heading towards to do, right? So when you're consuming, what you can actually do is, instead of doing console.log, how about from your email service, there is a function send mail. Let's try to send an email, right? And const require services slash, okay, let's services, and we will require email service, and we will say email service dot send mail, right? Email service dot send mail. Inside this send mail, what do you have is, you need to convert this string to a JSON. You need to convert this string to a JSON, right? Or a JavaScript object. How can you do that? There is a to JSON function, right? String to JSON JS. You can do JSON.parse. So I will say const object is equals to JSON.parse data. And then I'll say object, what are the properties that we need? Let's go. First is mail from, mail to, subject text. So I'll say mail from is noti, let's say airline noti @gmail.com. I forgot the mail, but no worries. Then you want to send mail to. Mail to is data dot email recipient. If you remember, we have email recipient, right? Then you need subject, data dot subject and data dot text. Here we go. We'll try to do this, and we can do a async await here. Async for this function. Let's say we await here. Once we send it, then we are going to send an acknowledgement, right? So queue is up. Let's try another booking, right? Let's try another booking. We have a new booking ID 9, same cost, /payments. Also, I believe now we don't need to do a await here, because I just want this queue.sendData function to work asynchronously. My transaction doesn't need to wait for it. Save it. And now when I do make payment, let's see what happens. Payment successfully gone through. Now here we say queue is up and it says undefined :1. Let's see what happened. Let's print what data we got. Console.log. Oh, sorry, my bad. We should do buffer from data, right? Buffer.from data. When we were printing, we were using buffer.from, if you remember, right? This is going to be a buffer object. You need to convert it. Let's try again now. Let's try again. And whatever is the buffer.from, you can then do a toString on it. The first argument must be of the type of an instance buffer, array buffer or array. Received an instance of object. Let's see, line number 10. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's see what our data is coming at. Maybe it's coming as an object only. Let's see. Yeah. Console.log data comma type of data. Okay. We are almost done. Let's try now. Another booking. Send. Booking ID 10. Now send again. Sorry, wrong API. /payments. Okay, this payment is already now successful. One second. I guess I put a wrong ID. ID 11. /payments. Why does it say cannot retry on a successful payment? One second. You can actually see this is the buffer object that we are getting. Oh, I guess idempotency key is there, right? Let's change the idempotency key. Yep, successfully completed the payment. And you can see this is the buffer object. This is already an object, right? So if you convert it to buffer.from, what will be the type of buffer.from data? Okay. Let's see what is the type of this. Let's try again. Another booking. Right. Oh, sorry, my bad. Let's create a booking ID 12. Send it. Oh, sorry, my bad. /payments. Send it. Okay, successfully completed the request. Now we are failing here. Why? Let's see. It says the first argument must be of type string or an instance buffer. Again, we are failing on the same line number 10. Interesting. You say buffer.from data, right? This was previously working, right? Buffer.from data. Let's save it. Let's see if we are consuming now. Oh, oh sorry, it's data.content. My bad, my bad. Multiple mistakes. It's data.content. Data.content. Right? Okay. The type is an object, right? Data.content is type is an object. Okay. So if you just do buffer from data.content, and let's try to make a payment again. This time for booking ID 13. We already have a booking ID 13. Successfully completed the request. Okay. This time it's not printing what we intended it to print. Right. Let's see. This might be because we should try to convert this into a string. Let's try now. Actually, you can try the payment again and again by just changing the idempotency key. And now you can see when you convert it to a string, then it's printing us everything, right? When we convert it to a string. So that's what we can actually use. So let's take this. I'll say const data is equals to json.parse this value. And I will say data.recipient email, data.subject, data.text. Here we go. Save it. Data has been already declared. So let's do object. Object.recipient email, object.subject, object.text. It's up. Now, final. Let's create a new booking. Send it. Here we go. / payments. Let's make a payment for booking ID 14. Send it. Sorry. Change the idempotency key. Send it. Successfully completed the payment. You can see we have received the thing in the queue, right? And if we go to our mail, let's go to our mail. You can see we have successfully received an email of flight booked. Here we go. Right? So now you don't need to call our API that I actually made in the controller. You can see there was an API in the email controller that I created for creating a ticket and everything, right? You can just directly push a message in the queue, and then queue will directly, our service will directly subscribe to the queue and then send the email. As simple as that. And you already know how to set up crons, right? So for that feature where you have to schedule some emails, for that you have cron. So you can see our end-to-end services are working. We are able to send an email. We are able to set up queues. And if you go to the dashboard, refresh the dashboard. Last 10 minutes, if you see, quite a good traffic we were actually trying to build in the last 1 minute, right? Actually, I can just try the payment once again by just changing the idempotency key. Send it. You can see another one I got, another object I'm getting here. So technically there should be one more email. You can see new message from AirNoti. If you show, there is one more email, and you can see there was a spike here. As simple as that. So very interesting monitoring dashboard. You can actually take a look at it, and there is a lot to learn inside RabbitMQ. But for our use case, setting up a message queue like this works like a charm. And you can see that being said, let me just quickly commit all of this. Completed consumption and sending mail. Git push origin master here as well. Completed publishing mail event. Git push. Here we go. right? And that's how we are able to not only just do mailers, but we are able to connect queues, and from those queues we are able to send the mailers. Now the third engineering problem at last I wanted to solve, that what if there are two people who concurrently wanted to book a seat? How can we actually solve this problem, right? That I also showed you for Book My Show, that let's say I selected L16, L17 from user 1, and another user also selected L16, L17. Both of them press the submit button. What will happen? Now we can very easily handle this in our RDBMS systems. There is a concept called as indexes. What are indexes? Indexes are data structures. Indexes are data structures that your database prepares for constraints and faster query. For example, let's say if I give you an array and that array is shuffled and you want to search an element, you need to take order of n query, right? But if I sort that array, then you can apply binary search and you can do a logarithmic query there. Or maybe I can convert that data into a binary search tree, a balanced binary search tree. And then if you have to search for that data, then also it will be a logarithmic query. Can I say that? Just think about it. If you have just a data in a normal array, that's order of n query. But if you somehow rearrange that data in a new data structure or the same data structure, then that queries can be efficient. Similar thing exists with our databases as well. That when you are storing your normal data in normal array, right? Then whenever you have to search for something, it most probably goes to all of the rows. If you want to optimize that query, you can actually use indexes. Indexes are different data structures that your database can separately produce if you want it to do. And then whenever you will search for something, it will be a faster search. For example, there are data structures like B plus trees that are used for indexes, right? I have discussed this in a more detailed fashion where when I like in the MongoDB lectures, you will see that in MongoDB also I'll prepare indexes and then I'll show you that the number of records that are read are actually reducing. But for our use case, indexes can also help you to prepare constraints. For example, now how do you set up this seat booking? There should be a new table for seat booking. In this table, there should be a user ID. There should be a seat ID. And there should be a booking ID. And one more. There should be a flight ID. Now what we will do is, let's say the user has completed the booking and now users are doing online check-in. Both the users selected L16, L17. What we will do is, we will put a unique index constraint, that is the user ID, comma seat ID, comma flight ID. These three records should be always and always different in two different rows. For example, there should not be a row like this, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. There won't be another row like this, right? There will not be any row where all of these three values are same together, right? And we will bind this query inside a transaction. Now you know how to do transactions, right? We will bind this query inside a transaction. And that's it. When two transactions will come up, we can make those transactions serializable if you want. Then let's say the first transaction goes and makes an entry. When the second transaction will come up, due to this unique index constraint, what will happen? You will not be able to create another row. Now let me show you how you can actually make this constraint, right? So It's pretty easy to do. Let me show you a Stack Overflow article. That's why I kept the third problem to the very last, because the three major problems, two I solved myself in the class, told you the solution, coded it as well. I want you guys to code this one, but I'll tell you the solution. So using Sequelize, what you can actually do is you can prepare a table. This is the table that we want to prepare, right? What's the table name? Seat booking table, right? For a successful booking, you will try to set up a seat and their booking. And then you can do something like this. You can create a table. This is your normal migration. And in your normal migration, you can pass one more object, unique keys, something like this, you can say, or something like indexes. You can say indexes. And then you can pass unique true for the fields this, right? And you can refer to the official Sequelize syntax as well. You can actually see it creates a unique index on email. It creates unique indexes here, right? If you want to create unique indexes on multiple columns together, you can do something like this. You can read the question. How do I define a unique index constraint, combination constraint of columns in Sequelize? That is, multiple columns together as a set should be unique. This is how you can actually do that. In your migration file, just add another object once you have added this here, and you should be good to go. This is for normally defining the model. If you want to do it with the migration file, you can see this is how migration file looks like, right? Query interface.create table. In those migration files, you can actually send something like this. Here we go. Once you have set up the constraint, then just set up an API where the user will try to select a seat for a particular booking that they have done. So in the session, you can pass their booking ID. And then when two transactions will come up, one transaction will go through, one transaction will not. Why? Because these three columns together should be always unique. That's it, right? And you can decide on what particular set of properties you want to keep this constraint. For example, you can avoid keeping the user altogether. You can avoid keeping the user altogether, and maybe you can use the booking ID, because one user can have those things. But to be very honest, one user will always book one seat in a particular flight, right? So of course the same entry will not come up. And even if it comes up, or one thing that makes sense actually, user will be always different, right? User will be always different. So let's not have user ID here. We will just have a seat ID and a flight ID. That's it. We don't need user ID. When a new user, let's say user 4 comes up with the same seat and same flight ID, then we will not allow the entry to go on, because user ID though will always be different, right? User ID will always be different. So that means you just need to prepare a constraint on these two columns. So just create a migration of seat booking. On that migration, add this unique index constraint on these two columns and try it. It should be a good to go. And that's how you can actually solve. And that's how apps like Book My Show also solves this, by keeping a constraint there, right? I hope this particular problem also makes sense to everyone.